Hey there, thanks for tuning in. I'll be talking about running clubs, joining one, getting custom, going from there. For me, my previous background has been track and field and cross country back in my middle school and high school days. And from that point forward, I wanted to ease back into it in college and eventually made my way in terms of joining a running club in particular and ultimately meeting goals of ultimately wanting to run my first long distance race, that being the LA Marathon. That will be another video. So for this and how it could help you, I'm hoping to talk about my experiences, how different groups oriented themselves, their rituals, and how this could possibly help you in your first search. So in terms of things, I think the word that ultimately summed up my search would be vibe. So just the general vibe of the club, just is it like a competitive feel? Is it more of a casual feel? And just getting a sense of how it matches what you're looking for, giving it a few tries before going off to another group, and just seeing how this could help you in terms of future searches altogether. So for running, when it comes down to it, sometimes I feel like heavy imposter syndromes at time when it comes down to it in terms of, is this group too like good for me? Are they all like better than me in terms of like they're going really fast, maybe we'll match that, and just different things at certain times. But end of day, all these different groups are really accommodating in terms of supporting runners at different levels, being able to match you at like your pace you're going, and just finding different runners at your similar level. So I'll be talking about a group I was previously part of and just how they situated themselves and going from there. So I was previously in a group called LA Leggers. They're based in Santa Monica, and I made my way there on a regular basis, finding myself liking their rituals and how they went about it. They made it really friendly, in which at the very beginning people would huddle up in terms of sort of at a rallying point in which people would all queue together waiting for the head coach. And from that point forward, there'd be like 100+ runners just like waiting for a coach, just like give a spiel before everyone makes their way into running. So general spiel of things would be, he'd either just talk about, say, like a nutrition, sports and general running shoes, or just like stretching or like calisthenics or like different things altogether. And going from there, that would be a setup in terms of all the rituals before just running all together, and just giving you more information from that point forward. So going into the running bit of things, they situated themselves in which they have groups catered off in terms of, they have a 10-minute group, they have a 9-minute group, and then from that point forward, they have like an 8.5-minute and below group, in which they're all trying to be a Boston qualifier group in terms of ultimately running that below 3-hour marathon in terms of eventually qualifying for Boston. Well, that's the qualifying pace for me, but I won't get into a spiel about it. So in terms of from that point forward, I'd say it was pretty friendly in terms of a 9-minute pace for a group would have it so that they'd run for 8 and then they walk for 1, sort of like a fartlek type training in which you run for a certain set, then you walk for a shorter set, and making it so that a more Boston qualifier group are more sort of running the whole time, not really accommodating for more walking. But I'd say the paces above that make it so that it's pretty friendly in terms of more conversational pace and running at your own need. So getting that out of the way, that's sort of how they set themselves up. But then they also have different days for, say, like a track training day, in which you'd get, say, more of a speed workout on a high school track and field that gave their time to us, and just like different catered workouts from there in terms of things. I'd say that after that point, I found my way in Boston for just different opportunities. But in Boston, I'd say they were more of a casual group, but I really enjoyed their way about going at it all together as well. I'd say they were more of a social group in which very beginning, there'd be sort of a similar rallying point, but there wouldn't be sort of like a head coach or anything. It'd just be more of a social casual setting in which it'd be like 5 to 10 runners, and we just all talk about just like how things have been, what we've been up to, and different things from there. Go on a general run around the Charles River where Boston was based, and just going from there in terms of talking about, hey, do we want to do like a 3-miler this week? Do we want to do a 5-miler? Do we want to do a 7-mile? And then people would taper off in terms of their different distances, or they do like a 3 to like, I want to say like 3 to a 10 even, and sort of just going from there. It was more of a social approach because afterwards we just get like coffee, talk about things. It made it easier to just like get a sense of different runners and just talk about things and just get to know people in more of a social setting altogether. I'd say I really enjoyed that, and that was a really fond memory in my time in Boston. I'd say in terms of things, they also did different fundraising events in which they do, say, like a cupcake run or just like different runs altogether for whether it's like a holiday or different type of events. And I'd say those would be what a lot of people showed up in terms of things. Like there's one in which there's a mile type setting or a turkey trot or just like different types, and just easing their way into just like these more friendly type races in terms of things. So I'd say in terms of these things, it was pretty friendly in terms of things altogether. I'd say the club, not to get into a tangent, but they're also partnered with the local Lululemon, in which the Lululemon sort of served this as a hub in the later days, but we were able to go into their studio and sort of just like set up, drop our bags off before ultimately going on runs altogether. So I'd say from these different running groups, they give me a sense of 2 different look and feels in terms of getting into running and just sort of getting situated altogether. And now I'm based in New York, and for me, I haven't quite found a group for me yet, but it's just easing my way back into it, sort of similar to how I did so in LA and in Boston, and ultimately seeing how that would fit for me. But I think this video trailed long enough for now, but I'm hoping that this serviced you well in terms of things. And in terms of a Cliff Note summary of this, I think the most important takeaway would be ultimately going back into vibes and just getting a sense of how something could service you in terms of you want more of a competitive feel versus more of a casual feel, and just getting a sense of knowing end of day that people are just really friendly end of day and they just want you to succeed, whether it's more of a competitive group, more casual group, and different things from there. But if you made it this far, thank you for your time today. Thank you for listening to more like ramblings of me at times. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, don't forget to be awesome.